Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
You know what makes Coors Light special? It's perfect. Almost anywhere. Anywhere there's a fan craving a taste of the Rockies, that's where a cold Coors Light belongs. If somewhere an athlete is playing sports and someone else, a fan, is watching him play sports, well then that's where I'll be. Because that's where a frost-brewed Coors Light belongs. Now who wants one? Cold Coors Light. You, sir, in the blazer. You, sir, with that putter. Put that stick down. Pick this beer up.
Dude, so like, I just came up with this like dream SNL episode today PM. Like the whole thing with Brendan Fraser, like how he had this Renaissance comeback with Whale. Dude, something bigger than this, and no offense to Brendan Fraser, that like I think would be super fucking, it'd be a big deal.
Okay.
If Corey Feldman out of nowhere just lands this dramatic role and he fucking kills it and it's just authentic and it resonates with the people and he's like shitting on top of the world again. He's got Oscar nominations and I don't think he's ever had that unless it was some Teen Choice Award shit. And like because of that star-studded role, he gets a host SNL, and there's so much to pick apart with Corey Feldman.
He
No
could
offense
be
to
the musical
Brendan.
guest and the guest, Steve. He
Yeah.
could either do a fucking twofer. Oh,
Let's
I'm listening, Steve. Corey here. Corey Felddog here on the mic. Steve,
I'm just saying.
I'm open. My schedule's completely open. It's either hang out with the Angels or do a fucking moonwalk in my basement. That's really where we're at right now.
It's all about putting it into existence, man. Speaking things into fruition. And you heard it here first, folks, on Happen in the 90s. Watch that shit happen.
I want him to do a movie where it's almost, I think what they ought to do with Corey Feldman, Steve, and this is just really exploding what we already know is, or exploding, sorry. Do what they did with Nick Cage with that, the unbreakable talent of or something of unlimited talent, whatever that was. It was a good movie, but it just showcased how lunatic, crazy Nick Cage was. Do that with Feldman. Have him do Moonwalker. Remember that weird fucking movie Michael Jackson did back in the day? Do that with Corey Feldman, dude. Have him hang out with Paul Abdul and some weird animated tiger cat. You know, just go wild with the Feld dog. I'm all in. I'm going to see him in just live musical performance. So just that alone. Have him on SNL for that.
Man, like being in the same building gives you chills.
Choreography, Steve. Choreography.
Oh my
He has unlimited list talent, Steve. I mean, he was a Ninja Turtle. He was a vampire. He was a Goonie. He was in a movie called Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood.
License to Drive.
I mean, guys.
All the Corys. All the Corey
This guy's
joints.
from work. He's got mansions he has to pay for. He's got a stable of angels that you gotta keep them kept, Steve. That's how it works.
He's got Michael Jackson stories, and he's still here to tell the story, to tell the tale.
He taught Michael Jackson how to moonwalk, Steve. Like I believe he's on record as saying that, or at least was there at the impetus of the moonwalk.
Well, okay, that part I'll buy. The first part, I don't know. Let's stay in our lane, Corey.
I've been in Hollywood for decades. Why do you think? Because I'm talentless. All right.
Oh God, cut. I almost said talentless, Steve.
We're live, bud.
Sorry.
Gene Shalit, the Today Show, calls Quest for Camelot exciting and enchanting.
Woo!
Happily ever after entertainment.
Thank you very much.
Quest for Camelot. Rated G. Starts Friday, May 15th at a theater near you.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your McDonald's pizza boxes and your Tommy Dreamer jammer pans and bling bling. Every time I come around your city, bling bling. Pick a ring worth about 50, bling bling. Every time I buy a new ride, bling bling. Lorenzo's on Yokohama ties. Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things April 20th in the whole effing 90s. Starting off in 1990, Chattahoochee premieres in theaters. In 1955, Florida, a Korean vet has a breakdown and is incarcerated in a maximum security mental health ward where patients are abused. Directed by Mick Jackson, starring Gary Oldman, Dennis Hopper, and Frances McDormand.
Man, I've never heard of this, but it has to be crazy and it has to be good with that cast. Gary Oldman and Dennis Hopper in a movie about war vets getting abused, Steve?
Bitch.
In a mental ward, man. And, Gary Oldman, he's the star. And he starts off in the first scene. He just comes outside and starts busting at kid pools, busting at porches, the fucking plastic chairs on grandma's porch, busting at trees, just aimlessly. And the cops are like, what the fuck? They surround his house, and his gal is Frances McDormand. And she's like, look, I've done everything I can do. And look, man, they're gonna have to take you in. So, but they take him in, and he like endures the shitty dealings, the hand that's dealt to him in that mental ward, man. And I don't know if this is a true story. I didn't have time to read into it, but because of this, like things change, and like the government at the end of the day, they crack down on how they treat these patients. They had the man pissing himself, shitting himself. He was getting into it with officers, man, and like he was around real crazy people. His own thing was like he was in the Korean War, so like he had some PTSD, and this was before PTSD was a thing, and they didn't know how to handle it, so they just threw him in with like all the legit crazy people. And Dennis Hopper, he's kind of like the veteran, seasoned guy. Like, yeah, I've been here, and like I'm fucking 2 cents short of $1, but at least I got most of my wits about me compared to everybody else. And he was kind of guiding him along the ropes. They become like kindred spirits of sorts. And he enlightens himself, Gary Oldman. He starts reading about the law, and he fucking defends himself. And he basically went up against the whole mental ward and the wardens and all of that. And he got those motherfuckers in trouble. Everybody got fired.
So he Shawshanked his way out, but he basically, it was Shawshank and the story of the real Rick Ross dude who did what you just said, learned law and got himself out of prison legally.
It wasn't really prison though. It was like a mental institution. I guess technically it's prison because like you couldn't escape. You're not supposed to escape or whatever, but yeah, man.
I mean,
because
this sounds like a crazy movie, and also how fucking long is it? Because what you explained seems like it would take 3 hours of movie to get through.
An hour and a half, about, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Half. Wow, I was really off there. But I love Gary Oldman and Dennis Hopper. Frances McDormand, I can't place at the moment. I'm seeing an older white lady, but I just can't picture the right one.
Frances McDormand, what is the 3 billboards of whatever that won some acclaim a couple years ago?
Okay. Clear. I don't want to like look online and take up time, but I think I know what you're talking about. She just like, to me, what I'm picturing is sort of like Nurse Jackie-ish, but I don't think that's the right lady.
In a way, they have that same kind of thing about them, man. And that same movie, she won Best Actress that year, and Gary Oldman, ironically, that year he won Best Actor. I believe it was 2019 or 2020. And this is one of 3 films that stars both Dennis Hopper and Gary Oldman. The others are Basquiat in 96, and as we all know, True Romance in 93.
Banger. I mean, they never shared a scene together in that, but man, dude, I was just thinking about that movie today of just like, that's like to get those stars in a movie, I mean, some of them are obviously dead and shit, but I mean, it's trillions of dollars. It's just star studded. It's crazy what they got, and it's also to me, I was like, man, I wonder, like Tarantino wrote that. What if he fucking directed that shit? You know, like what kind of crazy shit would have that been?
Samuel L. Jackson would have lasted longer for one.
Hell yeah. But dude, Gary Oldman in that, I mean, that's where my love of Gary Oldman really started, that movie. Because I mean, he's so good in it, and it's so short, but he's so good.
I don't eat no pussy.
It's White Boy Day. You think of White Boy Day?
Yeah. So gangster, man. But in 1990, Lisa premieres. A flirtatious teenager with an eye for older men gets more than she bargained for when the handsome stranger she's pursuing turns out to be a serial killer. Directed by Gary Sherman, starring Cheryl Ladd, D.W. Moffat, and Stacy Keenan.
Oh, Steve is all over this. He loved this movie. How many times you watched this movie this week, Steve?
1.5 times. But she was a little obnoxious brat because her mom, played by Cheryl Ladd, she didn't let her date until she's 16. She's like 14 in the movie. And D.W. Moffat, she has the hots for him. Oh my God, he's so dreamy. He looks like a model. And she's like a little teenager, man. And she finds out D.W. Moffat is a serial killer. And his name is Richard. And she's playing like phone hook, what do you call it? Phone hooky or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she's having phone sex with the dude.
Pretty much, man, and trying to entice him and shit. And she's playing like beating around the bush, like I can't tell you my name. I'll call you tomorrow, because she's a girl. You know what I mean? She went to the DWV or the DMV to get the man's information for one.
Got a DWI all the way with some HPV on the side. This movie sounds like you remember those movies Poison Ivy, but in those
and
movies,
Crush.
And there was another Lolita, I think, was like
I know it.
That was like the artistic, like professional one. These Poison Ivy movies I'm talking about were just like Cinemax porn.
Okay.
One had Alyssa Milano, and the other had the blonde chick that's always like white trash. She was in Joe Dirt, or she might have been in Joe Dirt, but she was in My Name is Earl.
Oh, Jamie Presley.
Yeah, she was in one too. It was just like a titty flick. But it was like this.
Her.
But I kind of like this like twist where the guy's a serial killer, but it is the 90s had this weird fucking fascination with barely legal chicks wanting to fuck like obscenely older dudes. Like those movies I said, that was the premise, Steve.
Yeah, like just like Alicia Silverstone in The Crush, and she was trying to fuck old boy from Princess Bride, Cary Elwes, his character.
Yeah, and I mean, what you know, this was the time of the Harvey Weinsteins and shit, so you know that those guys were the ones making the movie, so I see where the logic is there, but yeah. This movie sounds kind of cool though. I've never seen it, but it does kind of, it's weird. I mean, it's weird to be like, yeah, I want to see this movie where this young chick's trying to bag. But so this guy then tries to come and kill her then.
Tries to kill the mom because she basically like, he ends up doing his research, man. And he traces back and finds out the person behind this number is owned by the mom's name. I can't remember Cheryl Ladd's name on here, but like when he calls back, Stacy Keenan, Lisa, she answers the phone. He's like, this is such and such, her mom's name. And she's like, no, this is Lisa. And he's like, no, I'm going to come and get you now. And so like his thing in the movie, Richard's thing was like, and he would leave voicemails on the answering machine. That was his thing too. They called him the candlelight killer. So this motherfucker would go purchase wax candles, had the whole shit set up. He would already be in the fucking house. He would be staking out the place, and he waits until the victim plays the message, hears the message, and and the message is like, this is Richard, I'm in your house and I'm going to kill you. And while they're listening to it, that's when he comes from behind and like rapes them by candlelight and kills them.
I mean, dude, this way. I mean, This sounds crazy, Steve. Now I'm
It's
scared.
wild. It's insane. You never look at Stacey Keenan the same again. And this
So
is
what?
her
Like, okay,
debut.
but hold on, Steve. Hold on. Let me just like. I know we're like covering some ground here. We're trying to get to the episodes, but like what you just explained, right? So the girl, Stacey Keenan, she's a little girl or a teenage girl. She's
Yeah.
calling this guy and flirting and like doing weird sex shit with him on the phone,
Yeah, and
right?
she's basically like staking him out because she
And
knows his information.
but then, like you said, he looks at the number and realizes it's the mom. So, like, he's like, "Hey, get your mom on the phone." Like, where does that cross over? Like, you know what I'm
He
saying?
doesn't know, like, he thinks that when he's asking for the mom, he thinks it's really the mom playing games. Because like she's been beating around the
Oh,
bush this whole time. Like, I'm not gonna tell you my whole last name and all of that shit. I'll call you tomorrow though.
man, this guy would get busted by To Catch a Predator easily.
Easily. It's a layup for Chris Hansen.
Yeah,
I
why don't
mean,
you just come over and we'll watch the movies or something? Yeah. Maybe I'll bring some
no.
candles too. Okay. He shows up, dude. What a weird fucking. It's Dusk Till Dawn with pedophile hunting, serial killers, and barely legal pornography, Steve. It's just a mishmash.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly. Word to Robert Kelly. But somebody who didn't see Stacey Keenan get her freak on in 1990 is probably American baseball player Pete Rose. He pled guilty to hiding $300,000 in income.
Mm. Just he couldn't stay out of that negative spotlight, Steve, for a while. He had the whole gambling shit, this debacle. Oh, get this guy in the Hall of Fame, though, dude.
The
Still,
GOAT.
get him there, okay? There's no
Damn.
disrespect on this man's name, but it's like Daryl Strawberry for a while, where you're just like, man, we're trying to just ignore it, dude.
Like, dude, like we were still fucking cranking them homers, man.
We're here for you, man. Just come on, you're making us look bad, dude.
Damn. Why they want to stick me for my paper? They heard about the pounds you got down in Georgetown and the licensed Texas plate out of state. I fucked it all up. But in 1991, Saturday Night Live is airing the episode with musical guest Michael Bolton and your host Steven Seagal.
God. Well, the musical guest was great, Steve.
Yeah, he did his thing, man. And this is infamous because due to Seagal being difficult and uncooperative to work with among the cast and crew, he is soon banned from ever appearing on the series again and is branded by the SNL creator Lorne Michaels as the worst host ever.
And that is complete. That is one of the most actual factual statements I've ever heard, Steve. It's that bad. I was like, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like watching Friday the 13th. It's a movie that's just like so bad it's good and it's funny. No. This guy could act his fucking way out of a paper bag, Steve.
He couldn't play, he couldn't even participate. He didn't want to be a team player. He didn't get the concept of Saturday Night Live. And everybody that spoke on this episode who worked with him, they said that like he always had to have the upper hand in every skit. He couldn't be tongue-in-cheek about himself. He couldn't get outside of his ego to poke fun at his movies.
I need to win, Steve. Whatever the sketch is, I win. Like that. And also, like, dude, you gotta at least be able to read smooth. You gotta at least be able to act, like here. And also, here's the other thing. We can get into the actual sketches. This guy's job is to act like a tough guy, Steve. That's all. That's the prerequisite for a Steven Seagal movie. He's a cold-hearted, calculated killer that's a tough guy. He can't even act like that. He can't do that, Steve. What's going on here?
I just know judo throws.
I know Aikido and Zen. Zen? You practice Zen? Okay.
Really, bro? Because I remember when a reporter asked you what his definition of Zen was, you just threw the person in the fucking pond. That happened. That was totally a thing.
I'll look it up. What's my definition of Zen? Yeah. And it's also just such a, I mean, I'm not going to start denigrating Aikido, Steve, just because of this fat chump, but
why not?
It's like, I'd rather be a Tai Chi expert because what I'm seeing doesn't look great. It's a lot of like, what that fake martial arts shit that you see online where it's like a guy like, hey, if a guy's pointing a gun at you, just go zip. I don't think he knows it, Steve. He's conned the world because he was in Under Siege. I don't even know if he knows martial art, but
he knows that Aikido shit, but it's a portion of like the shit that you should know if you out here trying to start some shit or like really like defend yourself, man. That's a portion of some shit. Like, you never heard about like world champion Aikido tournaments on television because there's no sponsors for that shit. Because companies and people, the people who work for the companies don't see the value in that shit. A bunch of fucking arm tosses. That's a portion of any kind of fighting. It's a portion of professional wrestling. It's a portion of martial arts. That's a half-ass, like, that's great. You know how to fucking twist wrists and fucking hip toss.
It's always this, Steve. It's either so like a zip, just a little, you know. It's if you got bad hips. That's what this is really where you want to go. And the first the first skit that we get, the pre-monologue skit, whatever you want to call it, cold opening, is the pumping up with Hans and Franz, which I'm usually a huge fan of. Steve, Kevin Nealon, Dana Carvey. What could go wrong?
Oh, Steven Seagal is all that's wrong. And throughout this whole fucking episode, as we will soon report, even in this one, he had to have the upper hand, the upper pinky finger.
At least they were like, they shit talked him for 1 second. He walks out and is like, no, I gotta set the record straight. I'm a master. Like, it's just like, dude, what is going on here? Did you change the lines?
I follow Zen. And by Zen, I mean I'm a fucking asshole to everyone I encounter.
Hey, Hans and Franz. I don't think you're German, you fuck. Like, dude, what are you doing here? He's fumbling lines. He is not like you said, he has to win. He's like using his finger to push them. And it just isn't even, it's like he's not even acting enough to like for it to appear on camera. It's like, are you whispering, dude? No, you got a mic on, but we gotta hear this shit, bro.
He couldn't act his way out of a paper bag, man. And Dana Carvey even said of this skit, he was offended by the Arnold shit. Because you know, they're from Germany. They're supposed to be like super Arnold like fans. That's the whole thing behind their gimmick, man. And he says off camera, I wish Arnold was here right now so I can kick his fucking ass. Like, he took it that serious. Like, bro, for one, you're not going to beat Arnold Schwarzenegger. You just can't, bro.
I don't give a fuck what kind of martial art, you know. He'll snap you in half, dude. He'll grab you by that ponytail and just rip that shit off. Okay, can you just, like, 2 seconds. What did he do before he acted? Was he a bouncer? Is that right?
He was, like, a teacher. He was a teacher in Asia, like one of those countries. He was teaching that Aikido shit, and he was getting like clout from that, man. Like, his name was like starting to become legend. I shit you not, bro.
So he wasn't just a pervert somebody found on the street that was just flipping people over and robbing.
Shit, it could be from that too. I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, the cold open sucks, just like Steven Seagal's shitty ponytail. And then we get to his monologue, which, Steve, if I like pictured in my head what I thought he would do, maybe a joke, maybe he'll hip toss somebody. I didn't think he'd pull a guitar out. That's for goddamn sure.
It's the only thing I'm impressed with. I don't know if these were his actual riffs, but he was going on with the rhythm of it. I didn't think he would be able to pull that off, but
I don't think he's playing that guitar, Steve. I think some G. Smith's in the back someplace just like hitting the fucking licks.
Well, I'd rather smoke a bag of that because fuck Steven Seagal. And like, he could have made this better. It was okay, but he could have made this better by like putting more into it, some emphasis.
Stiff.
Like he was just Steven Seagal on Everyone Loves Kung Fu Fighting.
Yeah, glad you know one of the easiest songs to know. But I've seen, dude, the catalog on this guy is astronomical if you want to laugh at him. He had a show where he was a legal cop in Louisiana and was arrested. It was like following him, and he had a band there. He's like, at that point in his life, he was faking like a Cajun accent and playing the blues and shit. You know, that fat like Seagal. It was like easy going Seagal, you know.
You know where he's originally from?
I hope it's not Ohio or Pennsylvania, Steve. Please tell me.
He's from that state up north. So maybe that adds some sense. Yeah.
He's probably inbred or something. But anywho, the next I guess this is probably like a repeat sketch. It's just a fake commercial, but this is the best thing in the whole thing, Steve. I laughed my ass off at the Winston-McCauley Funeral Home. It's great.
We will never have sex with any dead bodies.
Care, compassion, and we'll never have sex with dead bodies. And if we do, the guy who does it, he's going to lose 6 months' pay. And you're going to save $1,000 on that deal that we had if anyone gets caught. This is hilarious. They said having sex with dead bodies at least 6 times. Great live television. If you were in the kitchen and just heard this at the time, that must have been pretty wild.
Like in the next skit, we got Tenelli, one-man army. Richard Lamer gets on the bad side of demoted renegade cop Nico.
Dude, again, I mean, Seagal is just fucking it up so badly, but again, he's held up. Even this awful performance is held up, in this case, by a Rob Schneider playing who? Rich the Copy guy, Steve.
Yeah, and Phil Hartman, like his angry, like deputy guy.
Damn it, Nico.
Everyone has civil rights, even drug dealers. And then Chris Farley.
Trenches, Nico.
Chris Farley's part, even for 2 seconds, a little less action than you're used to, huh, Nico? And then he throws him through that bullshit ass copier.
Yeah, dude. Nico, coolest cop on the force. Nico. I love that.
The rule breakster. Got me by my ankles. Nico, the ankle meister.
Nico, the lone wolf. El Lobo Solo.
And once again, like, why do you have to, like, hang him? Like, dude, he's Rich the Copy guy. He annoys everyone. Out of all the guest hosts, you're the one who has to, like, be don't even talk to me. Don't even look in my direction or my ponytail.
I think you need to shut up, Rich. Like, here's what I do love, though. He's about to fucking whoop Rob Schneider's ass. Rich the Copy guy's like, Nico, losing control. Oh, dude. Rob Schneider cracking me up, dude. But fucking Steven Seagal, like, Rob Schneider could be acting against like a baseball bat. It would be better performance than this, dude. It's awful.
And this skit just ends awkwardly. Like, you know, he brings him back from out of the window and he's just like, yeah, the Richmeister, he's cool.
Like, dude, we just have to get through this. Just phone it in, guys. Like, we got a set amount of time. We got to fill that space. Let's do this.
It's a lot of freestyling. But in this next one, All-Star Celebrity Tribute, there's some shine in this. Gulf War soldier Tim Meadows, he receives one of the many All-Star Celebrity Tributes, and he's Reginald Lee Adams.
Yeah, and he's getting the star-studded salute that's hosted by a retired Tom Selleck and Barbara Mandrell. But Steve, here's the thing. I mean, it's great. I'd feel honored to get this. But every soldier that went to the Persian Gulf is getting this, and I feel like they're recycling a lot of bits.
Dude, like, I remember when they used to have these things on Bob Hope on like NBC and shit, and like at first I would be for like, yeah, I'm a kid. Support the troops. Go America. And then like 2.5 hours later, I'm like, man, fuck these troops, man. You mean to tell me 227 ain't coming on tonight?
They're bringing out Michael Winslow for the troops. Like, what the fuck? These guys want some pussy, okay?
TV Guide said Golden Girls. They didn't say shit about this.
Bob Hope in the Persian Gulf with Don Rickles and some other guy you haven't heard of in 50 years.
And Louis Anderson. And Charlton Heston, played by Phil Hartman, comes out and he's reading a letter that I guess Derek Adams had wrote to one of his friends. If you ask me, this whole operation is one big wankathon. I think I'd lose my mind if it wasn't for masturbation.
I mean, it starts off with, man, am I horny? Everyone is busting nuts in front of each other. And he's like, hey, that's great. Why'd you choose that letter?
And Tim Meadows is a great straight man in this. Like, he's just like, because he's weirded out by all this shit. Like, just,
like
just
I said, they're reusing
thanks.
the shit. So he's like, wait, why would you say that?
And then Mike Myers has this Tony Orlando impression with that mustache. I'm Private Adams and I'm back. I'm 24, 5'9", and I'm black. And they're just rattling off all these stats, bro.
Freestyle, dude. He's freestyling out there. Come up with it on the fly.
Like, would you believe this is the only Tom Selleck impression ever on the history of this show? Like,
I mean, a Tom Selleck impression is having a mustache, Steve, because otherwise you can't put that sort of manhood and like masculinity. You're not going to exude that. He doesn't talk weird. You know, he's just handsome and has a mustache, so it is what it is. It's, you know, do an impression of me. It's going to sound whiny and gross. Do an impression of Tom Selleck. It's impossible because there's nothing to fuck with.
Man, you brought some logic to it.
He's like Chuck Norris, Steve. You know, I think it is something about mustaches, man. It just, there's a certain type of person that can just exude oneness with reality with that.
You did laugh about this in this skit, though, right?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Tim Meadows, because of him. Some of the shit was stupid, but Tim Meadows killed it. And the masturbation letter. I mean, I'm childish, Steve. You throw that in, I'm laughing my ass off.
But you notice there was no Steven Seagal. And then in the next skit, The Dark Side with Nat X, he interviews Andrew Dice Clay, played by the host. And one of the lines, Chris Rock says, I haven't had that much fun since Audrey Mama took off that do-rag.
We do get Chris Farley in this, though, again. And this is the only time I never knew Sandman talked in these sketches, but he actually reads a letter in this, Steve.
I think this is the only time.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually just a quick brushing off or a hooking off stage, but he reads a letter about, you know, it's a fan just asking Nat X, like, what do you do to relax? And he says he likes to go bowling because he likes that big black ball knocking over all those white pins. So I like that.
Like, I'll give Seagal some grace. His Andrew Dice Clay, anybody can do Andrew Dice Clay, but that's probably the most like impressive thing he's done throughout this episode, which isn't saying a lot.
Just talks like this a little, Steve. He doesn't even do the ow. That's the main thing.
Nat X asked him about Fort Fairlane. I haven't seen you much since Fort Fairlane. I'm not saying it's a bomb, but the Ku Klux Klan tried to tie this under my car.
Oh, that shit.
Oh my God. Are you doing any movies this summer? No. Oh.
But I mean, Seagal, he's literally sitting there trying to think of lines that I'm sure are written on a card 5 feet in front of him. It's like, how can you fuck this up this bad, dude? Did he not come to rehearsals, Steve?
He, like I said, man, he was a poor team player, man. Like, he wasn't familiar with the whole mystique. He like the whole mythos of Saturday Night Live. He never watched the show, and I think he told Al Franken that he's like one of the guys. He said like I never watched the show. He's like, dude, wait, you never? Where are you from?
Where were you living, dude?
Bob Odenkirk was the one that said that. Like, yeah, dude, you never seen it one episode, and now he's so misunderstood about this show. He actually showed up to 30 Rock that following Monday. And they had to tell him, like, dude, that's not how this works. Goodbye.
Hey, I'm on the show, right?
The fuck? He's here again.
What the hell's going on here? Yeah, that's hilarious. He showed up. And that's why, like, Bob Odenkirk's the main guy I've heard talk about it. And that's why I love him, because he's like, yeah, dude, fuck that guy. That guy was a cunt.
Agreed, man. And next we have The Deep Thoughts by Jag Handey. And he hopes that nude operas exist.
Yeah, because when he likes to go to them, actually, Steve, because when they hit those high notes, I bet you really see it in those genitals.
I bet you do. In the power ballad mullet, throwing a mullet, Mr. Mickey Bolts with "Love Is a Wonderful Thing." Damn it, you ain't lying.
Love is a wonderful thing. I mean, this is another guy where it's like, do you think he's white when you hear his voice and you've never seen a picture of Michael Bolton? You know, if you just gave this to an alien and be like, who do you think sang this, and showed him a picture, that's not the guy I'm picking.
No, I mean, I wouldn't think he's a black guy. He's not Hall and Oates level.
I'm saying the hair is what really threw me off as a younger kid, because I was like, this guy's just a joke. But if I just close my eyes, dude, this guy's a legend, bro. Bolton, Mikey Bolts.
Actual factual. Facts.
Plus and it's a simple thing. He doesn't need a bunch of fucking clothes, crazy lights and shit. Get him out there with a mic, couple of backup singers, some denim, maybe a little bit of breeze blowing that hair back in the wind, and that's all you really need for just a winner of a Michael Bolton performance. I love
some
it.
Aquanet.
I mean, you don't want that to hold. You want it to just be,
man. You want a little glisten, let that shine when it hits the sun. Get that. Ugh.
I mean, you and I are both follically challenged men, so like I could never dream of just having just a luscious mane. Like this guy looks like a walking, talking lion, dude.
All that mane, I wouldn't know what to do with it. In a weekend update, we're Dennis Miller. We're wrapping up his tenure doing this. Thank Lord. In Mr. Subliminal and a young Adam Sandler pop up.
Mr. Subliminal is Kevin Nealon is all. It's just him. This is his thing. I love it. But Adam Sandler, I mean, I think he was acting weird on purpose. You know, he's trying to be awkward, just be like a funny, like awkward dude. But
you can tell he's nervous.
So fucking young, dude. It's so weird to see, dude.
It's like, bro, act like you've been here before. Like you weren't in those few seasons of Cosby Show, one of Theo's buddies in high school.
Zippity doo, Steve. But I do have to give Dennis Miller credit because he does have a funny ass joke in this. Because after Kevin Nealon does his shtick, he's like, a little long if you ask me. And then Adam Sandler comes out and does his thing, and it goes on for a while. And he's like, yeah, a little hard on what's Kevin Nealon's character's name again?
Maybe I was a little too hard on Mr. Subliminal, but
yeah, dude, that got me. I'll give that one to Dennis Miller. That's a notch. You have to give credit where credit's due. See, we shit on the man constantly, so.
Well, we continue to elevate and try not to play a hate. And this next one is Gold. Musicians for Free Range Chicken. And there's no Steven Seagal. Again, it actually has the musical guest starting this off, man.
He lends credibility to this. It's like a We Are the World type situation. You know, the celebrities, the real heavy hitters of the music industry joined hands to just bring some awareness to chickens, and specifically the ones that are just in like a Purdue factory, Steve. We want those free range chickens out there. We want them out. We want them free, walking.
And Of course, I skipped over the backstory from Dana Carvey as Casey Kasem.
Yeah, killed that. Couple of highlights in the group is Chris Farley is, I think, Carney Wilson is her name.
Yeah. He always does that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. He does great at it. He looks hilarious. Adam Sandler's Axl Rose belting out hilarious sounding like Axl Rose noises, really. And David Spade looks exactly like Tom Petty. I think that's David Spade.
Yeah, that's David Spade.
It has to be.
And Carvey is Dylan. Where it is, we've had a free range to be the range.
But this is, you're right. When Seagal's not there, the stars really shine, Steve. So,
and the Chris Rock is Whoopi Goldberg. So disrespectful. They didn't even care to wax off the man's mustache. It's like, put some respect on Whoopi's name, man. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, why Whoopi? Why is she getting the shit like that, Steve? What's she?
I mean, she was never known for her looks. She has and I mean, but she's so legendary, man.
Eddie,
she deserves better. At least wax the mustache. And then Jan Hooks as Diana Ross with the blackface. Yeah, like, I'm giving you grace, Jan. Another deep thoughts by Jack Handey on that neck-loving screeching thing.
Anytime I see something squeeze across the room and grab onto somebody's neck, I have to laugh and say, what is that thing? Banana. This Jack Handey, like, who wrote these?
If it wasn't Robert Schmeigel, it was one of those guys.
This is such a funny, like, easy bit that's so, I forgot about these. And it's such a, like, fun, very specific time in SNL, but I always me and my dad used to laugh our asses off at these.
And Daddy's Girl is the next skit. The host, Seagal, he uses intimidation to ensure the daughter's safety on a date with Chris Farley. And Farley's part is probably the best, man. He comes in for his date, and Jan Hooks plays the mom. He's like, for an older lady, you're holding up pretty well. Wish my mom looked good as you. She's a salve.
Well, I'm sure your mom's beautiful. No. I love Chris Farley. Chris Farley is, as always, great. And all he has to do is just act more and more intimidated by Seagal, who's not intimidating at all, really. He's just very hard to hear. And just talks like that. I want you to have respect for my daughter. But I do like Rob Schneider in this too, Steve, because he plays like a mincy brother who's like Steven Seagal's like wormy son who's just doing all the sleuthing,
Yeah, checking on his car and like getting in his pockets and shit. He's got a fake ID. He says he's 25. Great
battery's
job.
going bad,
Get
but
lost.
It'll get him to the house and back. He's fine.
You got any plans? No plans.
When are you gonna bring my daughter back? I was thinking 10 p.m. What? That's the most acting he did right there. See, and I actually did more acting than he did, but man,
this thing is dead as disco. And he could have made the most out of this, man, because you got Farley, you got Hooks, you got Rob Schneider doing his thing, dude. He's just so monotone.
Why do you think he doesn't have like a sense of humor about himself? Like, you got to be a badass, like, leading man in Hollywood. So few people have. So, like, why can't you just have some sense of humor? Like, he's never had a sense of humor. Even in the goofy shit I was talking about where he plays a fake cop or, whatever he was doing, like all those crazy, shitty movies he does. It's like, in his head, I feel like he thinks he's king shit. Like, he's never fallen off,
Like, bro, get over yourself, Chuds McKenzie. Fucking Chud Bundy. And like, God bless this. Like, Jan Hooks, though, like, she did what she could, man. She's being like the doting housewife mother, like, oh,
I'll go get it.
Need anything? Yeah.
I mean, that's like the best joke in the thing is they keep just sending her away constantly. I mean, that's basically the only joke.
And after that, we got another musical performance by Mickey Bolt's Time, Love, and Tenderness.
Time, love, and tenderness. I mean, this is the song when I heard it, I was like, oh, my parents must have listened to this shit because I remember this song. This was a like 90s banger, Steve.
He has a lot of his songs in movies from the 90s, man. That like if you listen to, like, you probably didn't even realize it was Mickey Bolt's. And thank God we're at the last skit, and this was all Steven Seagal, his brainchild. It's called Brace Steel, Greenpeace Photographer, and it is cray in a horrible way, y'all. Brace Steel, the Greenpeace photographer, stumbles upon an Exxon conspiracy.
Yeah, and it's him. He's a tough guy, Steve, except he's not. He's a Greenpeace photographer, but he kills people, intimidates them. And it lasts. Is it 10 minutes? Because it felt like 10 minutes.
It felt like forever and a day long. And the funniest part about this one, man, was the Mike Myers bit. That's only like the first minute of it.
I don't like, to be honest, I had lost track of that because by the end of it, I was like, when is this fucking over with? Stop the madness. And honestly, like, if I was Lorne Michaels, I would have been like, you don't even get to say goodbye to the crowd at the end.
Like, you should have done the same thing you did to Rage Against the Machine. Like, no second song for you. Like,
oh man, what a fucking shitty. I apologize, everyone. I was the one that agreed that this should be like watched because of all the backstory about this episode, but it's better to just discuss it and just laugh about the people's opinions about this because watching it is excruciating. And I can only imagine if you were like, I want to go see SNL, it's my dream. And you go to this episode, I'd be like, what did we just watch, guys? What was this?
Demand a refund. And like, it's like Faces of Death. You just want to see it for yourself. Because I had never seen it in full. And, you know, he ends this skit talking about, this is what happens when you pollute the earth. Like,
I want to thank everybody. Thank you to Michael Bolton. Thank you to the troops. You better not look at me when I leave, though. Don't make direct eye contact with me or I'll slap you.
I noticed he walks to the back. Most hosts don't do that. He says his goodbyes and he walks to the back. He greets people. They shake his hand and then he walks to the back. Because I think he might have sensed at this point, like, man, they fucking feel some way about me.
They hate me.
But somebody who probably didn't watch Steven Seagal just blow an egg on Saturday Night on 1991 is American director and producer Don Siegel, born in 1912. He was famous for his collaborations with Clint Eastwood, like Dirty Harry, Escape from Alcatraz, and things of that nature.
That's like a bygone movie, man. I watched I think it was Dirty Harry. It was one of those of that series, and man, it's just crazy what they used to put in movies. Dudes fucking slapping the shit out of chicks, you know, crazy shit like that. But Clint Eastwood back in the day, man, I don't know. For me, it's kind of hard now. It's just like I haven't really liked a lot of the movies he's made in recent years, but like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, this shit, he was like kind of a good, like old-fashioned tough guy, like a Charles Bronson, where it's just like he's not buff, you know, he just wants to shoot you in the face.
Yeah, but the more I think about it, I'm starting to think he's like Steven Seagal of his time.
But see, I don't agree because I will give Clint Eastwood talent that he can make a movie. He has a talent that's outside of him just going, yeah, you son of a bitch. You know, but he can make a movie. He has done that.
He has talent, but I guess what I mean is he has the ego of Steven Seagal because like in all of his movies that he's in, doesn't he come out on top as the badass? You know, he don't take L's in his movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, there's probably like a lot of the action stars we think of. That's probably the case for all of them, man. Because I can't really think of any where they take an L other than maybe like Stallone and Rocky and shit. But that's part of it, yeah. You know.
That's a part of it, yeah. But
I mean, I see what you're saying for sure. I mean, he was fucking Dirty Harry. He was just a guy dodging bullets and just shooting people with the power of his stiffness.
Shit, he was doing that in his 80s. What's that, Gran Torino? Like, bro, like can you make a grandpa flick? Like you're tougher than the kids now. They got guns too, but yeah, your guns,
See, here I liked him. Here's a movie, a great movie, and he might have even made this. There was a western called Unforgiven where he was like an older cowboy, and I think he might have made that. I think Morgan Freeman's in it too. That's good because it was believable. He's an old cowboy stiff or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's always looked old, but he's tough, dude. Dude's a bad motherfucker, and these are some fun movies, you know.
R.I.P. Don Siegel. In 1992, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert takes place at Wembley Stadium in London, England. All proceeds go to the AIDS research. It had Robert Plant, Roger Daltrey, Paul Young, Seal, David Bowie, Annie Lennox, Mick Ronson, George Michael, Elton John, and Axl Rose, amongst others.
Dude, this is news to me, Steve. I mean, I knew the guy was like obviously loved, but I didn't know they had like a tribute concert to this level.
Yeah, man. From here, this looks like a promo for Dick Tracy.
Yeah, it definitely has that look, right? Even has the yellow jacket.
But someone who probably wasn't in attendance?
Who's that, Steve?
English comedian, actor, and screenwriter Benny Hill, born in 1924. Yes. Ladies' man.
Didn't know much about him other than he used to give us a couple of looks at some T-Taws back in the day when they'd show reruns of his show, but weird English humor. This guy's a legend overseas. I guess here too.
Fuck yeah.
You know?
Like he had me prepared before I thought I was prepared. Like, thank you for that. I am forever grateful, Mr. Hill, Sir Hill. I'm sure he was knighted in his lifetime because he should have.
I knight thee.
They had to play that in this funeral, man. But in 1993, A Quantum Leap, they are in season 5, episode 21, the penultimate episode, Memphis Melody, July 3rd, 1954. While impersonating Culture Vulture, Elvis Presley, Sam must save a Memphis belle from a bad marriage.
Oh. What the hell? There's a lot my question before we start with the story is, and I brought this up the last time, I believe, when we covered him being in the body of Dr. Ruth. Does this guy, like, when you come back, like when he leaves the body, do you remember the shit that he did? Or are you just like in a reality where you just come to and whatever happened? I mean, in this case, it's always good, but.
No, he remembers because there's callbacks to previous episodes.
But I'm saying like the person that you were in, like in this case, Elvis, when Elvis comes back and it's not Sam in his head, does Elvis remember the shit Sam was doing when he was in his body? Pause.
It's like they picked up, like they never left.
Yeah, okay. Well, these are plot holes that nobody cares about. And like I told you before we recorded, Steve, I've said it. I've supported this show. I've loved episodes of the show we've watched, but I think I'm a secret, like I'm coming out of the closet as a full-on Quantum Leap fan, Steve. I'm here.
Hey, man, it's got all the elements covered, man. The theme song, the cast, the guest cast. I mean, we've had episodes that featured Bob Saget, Dr. Ruth.
Plus, they get to pull from a rich history, Steve. I mean, Elvis. Yeah. Who do you think that they were like considering him leaping into their body? That they were like, nah. Do you think they were like Hitler?
They did that in Twilight Zone before. That was a crazy episode, but yeah. Man, that might have been considered. Who knows, man? But it's NBC, bro. They don't want to have any tarred feathers on that peacock. But Sam, as we said, he has leapt into Elvis, and he's being told he needs a little trim by some country boys in Tennessee, and they kick off that classic theme song. This is the final season theme. It's kind of like a remix, 93 version.
And it's just, I love how they explain it every episode. You get like this minute intro where they're like, Sam Beck, he went into the Quantum Leap machine, and and it is a confusing story, so I get it. I support it. The song's great. Sam gets into Elvis's body. We're really early on in Elvis's career. This was before he made it. We're at a talent show. And the thing that we also find out in this episode that's like causing a little havoc is, his buddy Al that nobody can see. He has like a little calculator in his hand. And Ziggy, who's like God or the voice in Al's head, there's something going on here. The thing's not working. It's constantly fucking up and fucking facts up. So, Elvis his career could have been hijacked, Steve, all because Ziggy was having an off day. I don't really remember what they said was going on, but Ziggy was fucking up. I don't like that.
They haven't changed those batteries in 5 seasons. And Al pops up, man, and tells Sam that Elvis is in the waiting room. And throughout this show, we find out Sam Beckett, the actual character, is a fan of Elvis. So he's feeling kind of jelly.
Mm-hmm. And, it's brought up that Sam, like, sort of, programmed the Elvis songs into Ziggy's, he made the machine, the Quantum Leap machine, and in that, he put Elvis's music. So, as a fan, he should know all these songs, which comes into play later. But while we're here, we meet Elvis's buddy. I think his name's Red. Just like
Red
Elvis's buddy that was like helping him when he was coming up. He's there. They're watching somebody come on stage. This girl, Sue Ann, comes to stage. And she has like a Sweet D moment where she can't do it. She has stage fright. She's like me on stage, Steve. She can't handle it.
So what do we have? Live performances, man. Like,
that was me. That was old me. Now I'm dead to the world. I have no emotion anymore. So bring it on.
Sue Ann has no talent. Like, she's assigned to do Amazing Grace. It's one of the simplest songs in gospel history. And she can't even get through the first line. She's stuttering. She's like Porky Petunia Pig.
Yeah, and again, Sam as Elvis goes out. He has to like console. He's Mr. Nice Guy. But the complication in this, like, usually he's just some dude, Steve. He's just some guy. But this is Elvis, so like any move he makes could catastrophically fuck up the world because he's here to help somebody, but it's not necessarily Elvis. You know what I'm saying? So like if he fucks up what Elvis is doing, it's all for naught. He's fucked up the world. So this is high stakes.
It's like a domino effect, chain reaction deal, man. And like she basically barfs from the embarrassment. She can't perform, and they make it to the chow hall, I guess the local Max of their day. And Sue Ann, she's one of the waitresses. And Red West says, I hope she can stand the sight of food. And Sue Ann hears this. She's like, oh, you fucking assholes. And storms off. And Sam has to like be real with her. Like, look, I you this whole time you've been working here. She's like, I've been working here for 11 years and you just now saying something? plus I got a man. Like, Sam is just too patient and kind to these O's. Like, bitch, you ain't got no talent. Well,
I'm Elvis, bitch. What if he knows too? I'd be like, I'm about to be fuck you. Sam, she just goes and kills herself. Whatever. Fuck it. I get through the world.
I got 12 of them. Shit.
And what I love though, Sam has to, his way of being nice is he's like, let's just sing. Come on, you got talent. Let's bring it out of you. So him and Sue Ann sing in this restaurant, which if I'm a guy at this restaurant, just at the fucking diner, like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to have a milkshake here, but they go into a song. They sing Amazing Grace. Sue Ann, she does have talent, Steven. Sam somehow like knows how to play guitar enough to do this. But then what I love about this town, Steve, people start singing, the diner gets in. I think maybe it's later, but I think there's a black like diner dude that just pulls out a harmonica and is like, whoa, he joins in.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude.
This is Pleasantville, man. Like Elvis was just in this idyllic place that could just bust out into a musical at any point.
That brother is just happy to be integrated. Like, I'm happy to be in this diner with these white people. It's
He goes, so I was like, these
1954.
motherfuckers were just dancing and shit in the restaurant today. I don't even know what the fuck. They're on drugs.
Shit, I'm trying to finish my shrimp po' boy. If you don't sit your ass down.
But you know, so there's a thing I like, and I don't know if it's a romantic thing because, like you said, she does say she has a man. She has a man, but
Frank.
and he's a cunt. We'll get to Frank, but then
Frank Stank.
we cut to Elvis's house. Steve, all this excitement. He's got to get home. He was late to dinner, and that's one thing the Presley household you don't do. His mom, he's a mama's boy, just like Matt G. Sweet
Like
boy.
Steve G.
Exactly. He's a sweet boy. And he apologizes. And his mom's like, you know, kind of goading him about stuff. But I think she brings up bills. And he's like, someday I'm going to pay for all those bills, Mom. Take care of all that. I mean, this is him the whole episode, Steve.
I'm going to be bigger than Perry Como and Pat Boone combined. And she's just like, okay.
I'm going to be bigger than Nintendo, Mom. What? Nintendo? Boy, you're possessed by the devil.
The who though?
Yeah.
And,
but he's a mama's boy, Steven. I love that. I didn't know Elvis was such a mama's boy.
And he's got a vision. And but this time, Sam as Elvis, he's in the studio session and it's tanking. He can't get his tunes right. He can't pick an A chord from a B chord from his A hole. And the lady outside, she has a real eye for talent. That's what she says.
I think you have the job, but I have to make sure of one thing first. This is a gigantic cock. Sam is Elvis, you know, it's Al's not helping out. He's in the booth and he's like, he jumped into a body. Now he has to be a professional guitar player / singer songwriter. That's pretty tough. And if it's not hard enough, Al's in there like, hey, yo, man, like you can't if you fuck this audition up, his career's fucked. Like the calculation says he's going to be sucking dick for money in 2 days. Like you fucked this up.
Bro, like Al kind of pissing me off in this episode because he's just applying more and more pressure to Sam. And like, meanwhile, he's got this janky ass radio. Man, you got to save the world right now, Sam. Al, help me, help you, help the world.
What should I do? It says you need to Fruity Loops. What does that mean? This thing's fucked up. I'll be right back. Do something. Like, okay, fuck. Let me sing a song professionally real quick. Let me just, like, he can at least play guitar, I guess. Maybe he learned that in one of his other leaps. I don't know, Steve.
Ziggy says you need to sing Blue Moon at the soda fountain.
He says you need to go to Antarctica and take your pants off. I don't. This is all lies, Sam. I'm sorry. I've been smoking crack this whole time, dude. Like, this is crazy.
We introduced Elvis up there to cocaine, and he ain't been the same. But, you know, Frank, he's in his fields. They see this impromptu concert at the soda fountain shop, and Frank, he's just like, that really chaffs my my knickers.
Well, when does that happen? Because he gets the lady to agree to see him at the talent show, because what was at the beginning, I guess he was just like doing a practice round or some shit. But he tells the lady, like, because she just wants to fuck him. That's what that lady's into that he's talking to. He sings kind of good, but he doesn't know the right song because Al's fucking him. But the lady's like, hey, I think you are kind of talented. And he wants her to show up, and she wants to introduce him to some guy that's like the record exec, I think. And he uses his charm, his good looks, his Elvis good looks, to just sort of charm this lady into giving him a shot, even though he fucks the audition up.
And then the next day, like, I guess Frank encounters him and he tells him, like, man, that was some bullshit you did with my girl. And he was just like, look, man, she's got talent. She can go places. She has a delicate condition. The fuck?
She's a lady. she ain't smart like us. She's taking advantage of her. Yeah, I mean Frank's just like he calls people boy a lot, and anybody that does that needs to get slapped. So, he's a cunt, and he's like, I don't even like. Is it a sexual thing with them? Because she does like kiss Elvis like after they have that one like good thing at the talent show. Because they sort of like that's the thing that we didn't explain, Steve. I'm getting like turned around in this because at the talent show, Sue-Ann fucks up again. She can't pull it together, and Elvis runs out, saves her again. That's now on stage at the talent show, and instead of doing his song, him and Sue-Ann like blow it out of the park and have this great talent show appearance. But Al's like, dude, you fucked up. You were supposed to go out there yourself. Now you're just fucking Donnie and Marie 1.0. You fucked this all up, dude.
Yeah, this bitch is stuttering amazing grace. And he came in for the save, and that's what Frank didn't like. And that's when they get into a spat, and Frank throws the first punch. He's had enough of this duet shit. And Sue-Ann, she comes in and she's not believing a word Sam says. He's like, well, he threw the first punch. Elvis, you're too old to be acting like a child. I'm like,
everything everybody said about you is true. You're an animal. You're crazy.
And you a stuttering, talentless broad.
Yeah.
Get it, toots.
See ya. Oh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go get slapped. Because that's the other thing. I was like, hey, let me add even more pressure to this situation. This chick's going to go back home and get 5 to the face because Frank's a little loose with that backhand. So, and Frank, but he gets bitched out, like you said. He gets bloodied, like you said. Sue-Ann has the same opinion that I love how dumb people were back in the day where they were like, you're moving your hips. You're the devil. You're sick. You're an animal. I can't have my wife out there all moist in the panties because you're out there shaking your hips. You sicko. Like what was going on back? Like this was the thing, Steve.
Vince should have made this a character. Like, because he's totally hateable.
I mean, but luckily this whole episode is him taking L's over and over again. He gets punched in the face. Fuck it. He gets bloodied. Fuck it. He gets embarrassed. Whatever. I think this chick leaves him because, Sam's like, you know what? We got this audition. Now she won't go because she thinks that Elvis is a lunatic. So now we're back to square one. Elvis has to figure this out now. Sam has to figure this out. No duo. So now he gets an audition with the guy at the record label. He has to show up at 11 and there's like a time and he misses that, right?
He misses it and he catches him at that same restaurant and he says like, man, just give me like 5 minutes. That's what they all say. And so Dr. Phillips or Mr. Phillips, he actually gives him a shot. They go to the studio and at first he's struggling, but eventually he goes into a rendition of Blue Moon and he cuts the shit up. Mr. Phillips is impressed and he's like, you know what? I'll holler at you next week. We can follow up on this. He's like, no. I want to show you some more shit. No, you said 5 minutes. Now I got a meeting to go to. So Al gets in his head again. He's like, no, you got to act now because if you don't, the Monkees, they're going to have Jailhouse Rock and Tony Orlando and Don, they're going to have Heartbreak Hotel. And Elvis is going to be not even a thing. So he has another impromptu concert at the soda pop shop. And Dr. Phillips, Mr. Phillips, and his cohort are impressed. They're like, what can you sign? When can you start?
You're telling me you're signing me? That's what I'm telling you, son. Now come back here so I can get you to S my D real quick because you're signing a deal with the devil. But I do love it. It's just like so like storybook. Hey man, can I do an audition? And this is where the black guy at the diner just pops up like out under a counter someplace in a real comical way and is like, man. It's a whole thing, Steve. Like whatever reality Quantum Leap's in, you're only 5 seconds away from a musical just popping out. It's crazy.
Yeah, the sole black guy in a segregated restaurant because it is 1953, but like, hey, Quantum Leap, reality leap, and I love it.
Well, but the thing of it is, Steve, like he's gotten the deal. So clearly he hasn't done what he needs to because he hasn't leapt yet. I think he even says that. He's like, "Why am I not leaping? What do we have to do?" Now he realizes he has to intervene in Sue Ann's life. That's why he's here. So he runs over to Sue Ann's, and gets there right before I think she's about to leave to actually like get married to Frank the Tank. And again, Frank's here saying just some crazy white guy like Mad Men shit where he's like, "A lady doesn't work for a living. You should be sitting at home, polishing my shoes, polishing my knob, not reading."
Making doilies.
Yeah, like, and Elvis gets there and basically he like talks his way. He's like, I've gotten you an audition. You have talent. You need to change your life. Fuck this guy. Fuck him right in his ass. And Frank actually at one point here is like, comes to his senses. He's like, it's either you choose this and go with like do whatever you want, or I'm out, and one or the other. And she's like, I'm going on this audition. Frank leaves, but before he leaves, Steve, he does apologize to Elvis. So I mean, maybe somewhere there's not a shitty scumbag piece of shit, but
get out of here, boy. Tight ass fucking briefs.
And also, I mean, he'd
briefs.
already gotten his ass whooped. I think it was more like, please don't hit me, Mr. Presley.
Frank stank. And as he drives off in his busted Volvo, Sam embraces Sue Ann, and then he finally leaps. And what will become his final leap? Now, does this scene look familiar to you, Matthew?
This is it, Steve. He's meeting God. We've already covered the episode that this is leaping into, but before we go here, Steve, I just want to clear it up. Before he does leap, Al does tell Sam what happens. Sue Ann, she actually does get a little musical career, Steve. It's not huge, but she has an album or two. She has a little bit of success, and what she does do, other than that, is create the biggest Elvis fan club there is. Or maybe the first one of the two, and that's cool.
That's awesome.
And she was constantly like, yeah, me and Elvis back in the day, we almost did it. Oh, Sue. But this show is awesome. He does leap into heaven, basically, because that's where he's going, Steve. This bar we see with that guy, the scumbag guy from other movies I can't place at the moment.
The bartender?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was, right? Like, I don't think they said it, but he met the bartender's God, if I remember right.
I'm not sure, like, because there are parts of that episode where I thought he might have been Satan. It got pretty dark, man. And Sam, he looks in the mirror, and this time around, it's his own reflection.
Oh, boy. Thank God. I'm Scott Bakula again. Scott Bakula, I mean, what a name, what an actor, what a show, Steve. Quantum leap into me, Scott Bakula. Why did I say that?
He has that profound effect on people, apparently. Scott Macula laying down the smacula. Flip it upside down with a spatula.
When Scott Bakula shows up and squeezes on the wall next to you.
Man, and somebody who probably didn't watch this episode of Quantum Leap is probably Steven Tyler, because his band Aerosmith released Get a Grip! It had the singles Crying and Crazy. And
those are the ones, Steve. Those are like adolescent us songs, the videos at least. Crazy? Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy, are you, baby? Biggest mouth in the business. Weird. I mean, thank God he's talented, Steve, because that guy, if he was working at a gas station, you'd be scared.
Horseface, man. And this also has the Living on the Edge, which I was introduced to that song by Beavis and Butthead. And it's one of the videos that they spoofed when he's like half man, like, and there's like a zipper coming down in his body, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we living on the edge. We just
You
can't
can't
help
stop
ourselves.
where I'm going.
We living on the edge.
Dude,
Yeah.
fuck the haters, Steve. Aerosmith used to fucking bang, bro. You liked
They rock 'em.
Aerosmith, and I mean, they made a tawdry video too. The video with Alicia Silverstone and Liv Tyler,
Yep. Beautiful, man.
busted.
And on that same day in 93, Primus releases Pork Soda. And a lot of people who follow this modern 90s and up club, Les Claypool is on the Mount Rushmore of basses.
Jerry
just
was
gonna
a
put that
baseball
out there.
driver. Drove so goddamn fast. I mean, he has to be on the Mount Rushmore basis, not only just because he's a bad ass musician, but I mean, he helped create the South Park theme song. So you're in the upper echelon of music just for that.
Boop, 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 boop. Like the shit that Flea does with that slide, he and even Boosie, he's that like times 10. Boop, 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 boop.
Oh yeah. He does have like, I mean, it's crazy when bassists get famous. You know, it's not usually the fame position, but the dude's a badass.
Oh. I want to thank Les Claypool for acting like a fool. And also on that same day in 93, Shania Twain releases Shania Twain and Toby Keith released Toby Keith. I'm sure they had songs on it and they're self-titled and they did well.
That don't impress me much.
I'm sure there was some song about strapless purses, man. God bless them. And in 1996, SNL has the episode with Dave Matthews Band and Terry Hatcher. I was actually leaning towards that one, but man, we kind of wanted to cover this bad train wreck, man. But around this time, this is when the Tim Meadows, the Will Ferrells, the Chris Kattans, all those guys are there. Even in this episode, we had some Spartan Cheerleader, some Mary Catherine Gallagher, and there's this very funny skit where Tim Meadows, he plays G Money or something like that, and Terry Hatcher, she plays the princess, and they're making an ad for an NBC show called The Princess and the Homeboy, where basically Tim Meadows is her roommate. And like in one scene, she comes into the living room and she's like, "What is that you're watching?" It's like, "It's a rap video, bitch." And it's just Tim Meadows. I wish I could do it more justice, man, but we're trying to run through this, man. But like, that's a good episode. Shout out to Terry Hatcher. Fuck Dave Matthews. He's Eddie Vedder and Birkenstocks. On that same day in 96, Soul of the Game premieres on television. It's a 1996 television film about Negro League baseball, directed by Kevin Rodney Sullivan, starring Blair Underwood, Delroy Lindo, McKelty Williamson, Edward Herman, our guy, R. Lee Ermey, and Harvey Williams.
God damn it, Steve. I've never seen a stack of shit so high, you fucking piece of shit. R. Lee Ermey only played one character type, but played the fuck out of it.
It's like, you get Steve Kerr on your team, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get threes. You're not going to get fantastic dunks. You know what you signed that man's contract for.
I said, did you suck dick, privates?
Only Steers and Queers come from Texas. You suck dick, private? Oh, shit. I bet you can steal a golf cart. Through a garden hose.
God damn. I mean, he's not still with us, right? I mean, rest in peace.
Nah, he passed.
Yeah.
Somebody who probably didn't watch that episode of SNL or Soul of the Game in 1996 is probably the first pick by the New York Jets, Keyshawn Johnson, in the 96 NFL draft.
One of the greatest get a first down players of all time. You threw this guy the ball, you got a first down.
Him and T.O., two of the greatest to do that.
T.O. would take it to the house. Keyshawn, not as much, but I'm telling you, it was like 100% success rate. If you needed, whatever you needed to get a first down, just throw it up in the air near him, and you're going to get that.
He could turn a little into a lot.
Yeah, he was a beast, dude. I mean, he was one of those guys that was great, but never really played for a great team. But he was great constantly. I mean, who was his quarterback? Vinny Testaverde? Who was it?
Vinny Testicles. He had Brad John. He did win the Super Bowl, but that was more on the defense. That's one of the best defenses ever that year, man. So he was with them, and I believe he was with another team. I think he played for the Cowboys for a short stint, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, the dude, he was never on the Steelers, so I never was like a huge fan. But like I said, you need a first down, throw it, and that dude is a beast. So, and he's a good fucking broadcaster too, bringing it to now.
And on that same day in '96, the Chicago Bulls win their record 72 games in a season. And what needs to be said? Bow, bow, bow.
I just remember how
Goats.
much they were like. It's like when somebody's about to throw a perfect game or something. Like the closer they got to like that record and stuff, it's just like. And then I mean, what was the record and how much more did they exceed it? Because I mean, I think they blasted past whatever the win total was.
Oh, whatever it was, I can't remember before them. I mean, I know the Warriors, they eclipsed that since, but like, I mean, I thought this was going to be unbeatable. No pun
Yeah.
intended, man. Like, still, this is the greatest team. Fuck the Warriors because they actually won their championship the year they got the record. So, eat a dick, Steph Wardell Curry. On that same day in '96, Hostile City Showdown '96 airs on television. This was a super card for ECW at the time. And I only want to call this out because it had a great match from everybody involved. There was actually a match with Sabu and RVD, and they tore the house down. This was their first match together. They would eventually be rivals and later tag teams. And this also has a spot where Tommy Dreamer's girl, Beulah McGillicuddy, she was called out for cheating on Tommy Dreamer. And Shane Douglas, he like comes out with the mic and he's like, I know who did it. And he points to his valet, Kimona Wanalea. And so she just gets in the middle of the ring. Beulah McGillicuddy, they get in the ring and they just start making out, and it makes for good television. And
Gosh, Steve.
Shane Douglas says, so what do you think about that, Tommy? Tommy grabs them both by the head. He's like, I'll take them both because I'm hardcore. And then he makes out with Kimona Wanalea and makes out with Beulah McGillicuddy. I'm like, Tommy Dreamer, you are the fucking man.
God bless. You're just living the best. That's the best life, Steve. This guy is winning in every way.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get me some Tommy Dreamer jammers. And in 1997, In the Gloamy premieres on HBO, and this was an hour and probably 15 minutes, and it had Glenn Close and it had Bridget Fonda and Whoopi Goldberg, and the son of Glenn Close, he has AIDS. They make this story real quick, and he returns home as an adult. And they already know he has AIDS. He's taking his prescription, and they do a time lapse as he's like progressively getting worse. And it's about the bond that he has with his mom, the lack of a bond he had with his dad because he's gay. He's a gay AIDS victim or whatever. And it's real touching. It's one of those heartbreaking stories, man. But it got some acclaim for the performances, even from Whoopi Goldberg, who was kind of like a side character. She plays the home nurse that looks after the son.
Man, I feel like maybe now that you're saying this, I kind of remember this a little bit, but I never had HBO. But man, this sounds like a fucking like one-time watch downer type movie. It sounds like something profound, but man, it sounds not like something fun.
Especially in '97, man. And that same day in '97, In Your House 14, Revenge of the Taker airs on pay-per-view through WWF. And this is another classic match between Undertaker and Mankind. This is around the time Undertaker started doing that Phantom of the Opera shit. And the backstory to that was Mick Foley burnt up his face, threw like a fireball or some shit in his face, like fucked him up. And this also has a classic match with Stone Cold and Bret Hart again. And I'm just loving this angle. A lot of people talk about Rock and Stone Cold, but right underneath the Austin McMahon rivalry, I would have to say the Austin and the Hart Foundation rivalry, because he beefed with Bret initially, but once he recruited like the foundation, he had a beef with everybody, and it was like one man against the whole family, and he just did that shit. And in this match, man, he's taunting him. He's like, Austin takes him down and he gets up and he's like, he does this shit. And the way Austin does it, it's so cocky and arrogant, man. Like,
dude, hell
yeah. yeah, fuck yeah. He needs his whole family and his fat father stew, and it don't matter.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh,
You're right though. I mean, what a the match that we watched, the legendary one where he's bleeding out of his head and in a sharpshooter and stuff. I mean, that set the stage. It is hilarious that he was just like, "Fuck all the hearts, fuck them all."
if you put an S in front of the hit, man, you get my exact opinion of Bret Hart.
Oh.
This also had a match between the Roadie and Rockabilly. And Rockabilly, Billy Gunn, and the Roadie, Road Dogg Jesse James. They're both like country musicians. And this is 97. And like, once again, the pieces are here. They're just, it takes a little bit of trimming and, rendering.
Road Dogg's better than Roadie, oh,
guy,
you didn't know.
But in 1999, BG releases Chopper City and the Ghetto. And yes, this is the one with blang blang. Every time I come around, you'll say that blang blang. Think it rain worth about that blang blang. This represents a certain era, Matt. You know about this.
That's the font, that cover, dude. I love this. Is just like a time and place.
You
Look
had
at
to
that.
be there.
Like that's like some shit you could create in Microsoft Paint in like 5 minutes, but it just there's a certain thing about it. I love it, dude.
Happened in the 90s shirts. Look out, world. Look out.
We're figuring that out for sure. That's tight. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was. Like there's some art guy who was doing Southern rap covers back in the day who like some graphic designer is like at the center of this, and I want to know who that guy is.
The guy who kickstarted all this shit, hand over fist, man. Like, I'm making money with no limit and cash money for the 99 and the 2000. Somebody who probably didn't get BG, Chopper City, and the Ghetto is probably those cocksuckers Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, because they killed 13 people and injured 24 others before committing suicide at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado.
I mean, we don't have to cover this too much. Fuck those guys. Fuck anybody that does this shit. It's crazy how much this has happened since then. I thought this was it. I remember like when this happened, we were in school and shit. It was crazy to watch, but man, it's crazy. And they fucked 420 up for a while,
They totally did, man. And sorry, Matt, and to add insult to injury, but also in 1999, we lost American professional wrestler Rick Rude.
No, God.
Born in 1958.
Too soon, dude. Too fucking soon. Cut the music.
And that's exactly what God said on April 20th, 1999. He said, cut the music. And Moses parted the clouds. And he said, I want all you fat, out of shape angels and saints to take a look at what a real angel is supposed to look like. Hit the music. Dun, 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 dun.
Come to me, my ravishing son. Is that God? Yes, I made you in my image. That's crazy, dude. I wish we still had Rick Rude, because I feel like that guy, if he had a podcast now and could share the stories of Rick Rude from back in the day, I mean, you can only imagine, bro. Him and Bobby Heenan out on the road, just who knows? I'm not gonna put anything on the guy, but there was a lot going on. You know what I'm talking about.
But Matt, this is why I love shoot interviews, because like there's so many stories about this man from the people who worked around him and worked with him, that like I can just fall down the rabbit hole on Rick Rude stories, because this dude was a gangster in every fucking way, from the 80s days when he had the mullet to the close cut days in the 90s, rocked that mustache. That was gangster. His walk was gangster. The music, he had a dope manager, and all the bitches want to fuck him. All the husbands wanted to fight him, but they couldn't, because they couldn't beat him up. All they had to do was sit there and take it and watch and cuckold as their wife gets digged down by the dun 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 dun.
I mean, there's nothing. You can't besmirch the guy at all, Steve. And if you're a wrestling fan, think of like all the insane moments that are the height of wrestling in the time that we loved it, which I think is the best time of wrestling of all time.
Hands
Like
down.
all those decades, the 2 decades that I was in, this dude was at the center of, all of it. The NWO shit, he crossed over. I mean, shit, the dude was just on the ECW showing up.
Just
I mean,
on
this guy was
ECW.
everywhere.
DX. He was at the genesis of DX.
He was in NWO. I mean, and again, he was a badass, Steve. There's nothing. I mean, where is this guy's statue at? Because I want a Rick Rude statue built. I want
Somewhere
it
in Minnesota.
erected, Steve.
Boom, boom. Hit the music. Now, any callbacks, honorable mentions, or questionable things in your stool?
There is that, but I've already talked to a doctor. We're good. But I just, as always, Steve, we've talked about Michael Bolton. I just want to bring my book back that we constantly talk about, my Michael Bolton fanzine. And I just thought this time just to share an uplifting quote and photo, just to inspire everyone. This is a quote from Michael Bolton on the Jonathan Ross Presents program, which I believe is an English program. And he said, and I quote, "I love playing baseball and I love my life, but where my music has taken me now and having the kind of audience I have now is such a blessing that all I want is more of the same." And I think that's a lesson that we could all learn from Michael Bolton is just enjoy the now, enjoy the moment, Steve, and enjoy this. A picture of Michael Bolton in a tuxedo looking fabulous.
I think Michael Bolton, he was their protection. He was able to get that cast through that episode with Steven Seagal. Thank God, like they made the right choice. Like if anybody can like help guide us through, it's Mickey Bolts, and he practices Zen. That's more believable.
Time, love, and tenderness. I mean, listen to Time, Love, and Tenderness, everybody. I'll leave it on that. But Steve, how about you? Are there any bustings or trustings that you'd like to tell us about?
Oh, it all started when my uncle met me. No, but in '97, The Simpsons aired the episode "The Old Man and the Lisa." That has a Bret Hart cameo, and it's only like for a few seconds. It doesn't even sound like Bret Hart, but it's Bret Hart. It's in the M-dubs. And in 1999, King of the Hill is airing Revenge of the Lutefist, and Mary Tyler Moore plays a female pastor in Arlen, and Cotton Hill, he doesn't like that. He's kind of like a Frank in a way, Frank from Quantum Leap. But as you could imagine, shit hit the fan and shit blew up. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Tell your sister, I was crying when I met her. Now I'm trying to forget her. You stupid bitch, suck my dick. Please check out
scabies. Damn, I just hit
and
that
ruin
point,
memories. Oh, it's the Corey coming in. We're going to play cleanup.
Happened in the 90s, Steve.
Check out Crushgasm on Wednesdays, B3F Podcast with Joey and Steve, and Don't Worry, B-Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G. and Maggie with
Happened in the 90s.